I was one of the people that sat down with Hope Hicks when she visited with then President-elect Trump. And of all the things she could have asked us about, and granted, it was 2 days after kind of a shocking outcome of an election, she had one major question. How do you get the president to approve every statement that goes out in his name? So we told her how we did things. And we told her if we need a statement to commemorate, say, National Pancake Day, the president doesn't have to approve it. Obviously, if it's a more significant one, he does, and he works with us on it. And her response was interesting. She said, Mr. Trump will want to approve everything. Made clear to me that when it came to all things PR, her boss was the definition of a micromanager. Well, fast forward to Friday, and that's exactly how Hope Hicks portrayed Trump when she testified against him in a Manhattan courtroom. Her testimony revealed that he's obsessed and controlling when it comes to his media coverage. In fact, she testified that when she began working for Trump in 2015, during his first campaign, the media team consisted of only the two of them. She said, quote, it was just me and Mr. Trump, who's better than anybody at communications and branding. We're all just following his lead. He was very involved. Everyone who works there in some sense reports to Mr. Trump. It's a very big and successful company, but it's really run like a small family business. With all of that said, here's the takeaway. Trump was intimately involved in the minutiae of his 2016 presidential campaign, all of the statements, everything. So if he was aware of the small things, how could he not be aware of the big things? At one point, Hicks painted a vivid picture of the panic inside the Trump campaign after the infamous Access Hollywood tape was released and the attempts at damage control that followed. She said, quote, I had a good sense to believe this was going to be a massive story and that it was going to dominate the news cycle for the next several days. And that, quote, this was a damaging development. First of all, no kidding. Did anyone on the planet who saw that tape not recognize this was going to dominate news coverage and be extremely damaging? But that aside, what's even more damning was her testimony about a conversation she had with Trump once the Stormy Daniels story went public in 2018. Hicks testified that Trump told her that Michael Cohen had paid off Daniels without his direction or knowledge. But Hicks doubted Trump's cover story. She said, quote, that would be out of character for Michael. Hicks also said, quote, I think Mr. Trump's opinion was it was better to be dealing with it, the Stormy Daniels story. Now said that it would have been bad to have that story come out before the 2020 election. Look, we don't necessarily know what prompted her to break down in tears as she spoke about her former boss on the stand on Friday, but we do know her testimony was damning. She admitted the payoff was related to the campaign. She admitted that Trump knew about the payoff scheme, and without having to call her former boss a liar, she admitted that she thought the story he told her about Cohen doing it all on his own wasn't true. In the words of Hope Hicks, we were all just following his lead. Joining me now is Ashley Parker. She's just senior national political correspondent at The Washington Post. Andrew Weissman is former general counsel at the FBI, and Neil Katyal is the former acting U.S. Solicitor General. So I want to get into the Hope Hicks of it all, but I want to start, Andrew, with you, because you said that her testimony was devastating to Trump's case. Why?
So I think you outlined it very well, which is sort of you really have to think about where is this case going to be at the time of summation. And what she gives is really direct evidence from Donald Trump's mouth that he was aware of the hush money scheme with respect to Stormy Daniels. That was a hole in the case until she testified, because if you recall, until she testified, there was a lot of talk about how Donald Trump didn't sign the agreement between Stormy Daniels and essentially Michael Cohen, that there were 4 signature lines, but only 3 were signed. Donald Trump didn't sign. And so there was this issue of, did Michael Cohen do this on his own? And Donald Trump never knew. Well, she basically made it clear, of course he knew, and she has a direct statement from him, as well as you pointed out, her concern that, there's no way Michael wouldn't have told him, because he would have wanted credit, and he's also not the kind of guy who would have done this on his own. Notably, what she didn't say is that Donald Trump, when he learned of this, was like, oh my God, what did you do? In fact, he said it was in his interest to do that. Finally, we're going to see this week the end result of what she's saying, which is that he reimbursed that $130,000. And I just want to make it very clear. He is on record in a civil case saying, I reimbursed Michael Cohen for those hush money payments. So this remains in the case is something that is on paper. So you really can see the end of this case coming up fast and furious, with the DA just closing it out on the actual reimbursement scheme, which is something that cannot really be denied credibly by Donald Trump's team.
All right, so Andrew kicked off on kind of the legal why. Now, Ashley, you covered the Trump team. You know them well. You wrote a great piece about Hope Hicks, where she was a central person in it, where you wrote, Hicks's